Good afternoon, everybody. This is John, your host of the Modern Conservative Podcast. Here, where we stand for the flag and we kneel for the cross. And I say that proudly each and every episode, because I truly mean it. I want to say here we go again. 1 year later, give or take, we're back in the COVID world. I don't know if you had seen this or not, but, California had just said that if you are a state employee, you have to be, or county or public employee, you have to be vaccinated. Now, keep this in mind, people. It's coming your way. It's coming your way. So all of you guys that are out there listening to me who think that you're going to be immune, well, I'm immune from it because I don't, be honest with you, I don't really particularly care to work for anybody else. And my company, they're just like me. God-fearing, conservative thoughts, Americans. But there are a lot of you out there that will be subject to this coming of tyranny. California said if you do not get the shot, unless you have a medical waiver or it's for religion, you will have to be vaccinated to maintain your employment in a public building in which your taxes pay, or their taxes pay, to keep that facility running because it's tax-based employment. So basically, if you don't get vaccinated and you're not exempt, although if you are exempt, you still have to wear a mask. The building that you pay tax on, you can no longer enter as an employee, which is kind of ironic because who in the hell are they to tell us taxpayer we can't go in any building that we pay for because they want to discriminate against us? Because literally that's what they're doing. They're going to be discriminating against you because you do not go along with the chain of command. So they're doing what they have said many times. They dangle that carrot in front of you. And that carrot is your job, your freedom, your liberties, the things you like to do for pleasure, such if you want to go on a vacation, guess what? In order to get on my airplane, you damn well better be vaccinated, or at least of all have a mask on. Now, I have the perfect out. So those of you that are Black out there, hey, I got you covered on this one. Because in most cases, you have to have an ID to get the vaccine, to get the shot. But guess what? We Blacks don't have IDs, remember? We don't have IDs. I can't get vaccinated because I don't have an ID. This is the reason why we have they don't want voting laws that restricts or that actually mandates you have an ID. Hey, I don't have one. So if you're Black or anything close nowadays, because there's no such thing as literal anymore. So you can just walk up to the vaccination station and say, hey, I identify as Black. And you might get away with it because probably the person that's giving you the shot will say, I identify with you as well. Because you just don't know nowadays. But if you're Black, you don't have to worry about getting the shot. Tell them I sent you. And you can't get an ID. Because then if they say, well, everybody should have an ID. How did you get here? Well, you say, well, that mentality don't work when it comes to voting rights. Because from you people, the country is in complete, absolute voter chaos because everybody's confused about how to get an ID in this state. Well, especially the Blacks, we don't know no better. See, we haven't quite figured it out how to go get a driver's license or, how to at least get a state ID. We don't know how to do all of that. So COVID is a good way to validate their claims. I do not have an ID. Therefore, I can't get the shot. So when they say, hey, can I see your voter? Or actually, I'll call it your Gestapo badge. Basically what I call it. And when they ask you to see your Gestapo badge, if you're black, say, I don't have one. And they say, why don't you have one? I don't have an ID. That's my right. But anyway, COVID is coming around, and it's coming around rampant this time. Utah counties are at 2,000 people today. Here's my question. Why don't they report every time somebody has a car accident daily? Why is it they don't report how many people died in a house fire daily? Well, how many people got shot nationwide daily? Why is it they don't produce? Why is it they don't? Why is it they don't announce those numbers? It's because they don't give a rat's ass about how many people got shot, how many people died in their car daily, how many people died of the flu. Oops, there's no such thing as the flu any longer. COVID killed the flu. Now everything is just COVID. But the reason why they don't tell you that number is because it doesn't promote the agenda. And the agenda is for every single person in this country to be vaccinated the way they want you vaccinated. They want to prove a point to you. You don't have choices anymore. They want to tell you, damn it, when we tell you to get vaccinated or suffer the consequences. I've heard this and I've said this many times, even in my private life. There are people out there who are making the fight against the vaccine very, very hard because they comply. And they don't comply out of knowledge. They comply out of ignorance and fear. They fear losing going to Florida for vacation. They fear losing their job. They fear not being able to go to a basketball game, which is kind of funny that I mentioned that, because people will spend more time trying to go to a damn basketball game than fight for their freedom. You'll see 20,000 people trying to get into a basketball arena, but they won't go down to a school board and fight for their kids. That is self-evident of how this country, somewhere along the way, has lost their priorities as American citizens. What's the point of having rights if you're not willing to fight for them? Let me guess. What, everybody else should fight for them for you? So you can maintain your relationship with the Jazz organization? So you can maintain your relationship with American Airlines or Delta Airlines when you want to go fly to Florida, the Bahamas, Hawaii, Europe? So you can maintain your status? Your status is no good when they take it away from you. That can be very short-lived if you do not fight for what's right. More so than that, fight for what is yours, and that's your freedom. Once they have gotten everyone or the majority of the people to get the vaccine, they're going to say to you, well, 75% of the country now has the vaccine. We got to figure out what we're going to do with the other 25%. You know, there's a saying that someone said to me yesterday during the Holocaust. First, they came for the Jews, but it didn't matter because that wasn't me. Then they came for the socialists. That didn't matter because it wasn't me. When they came for the communists, that didn't matter because it wasn't me. But now that they're coming for me, there's nobody else. And so the point of this, you can't wait till everybody's locked up because everybody's complying, because once everybody's complying, you become the outsider. You become the other 75% that has gotten the vaccination. You become the enemy. It's almost that way right now. And they know this. And they know there's an element of the country that are not going to get the vaccination. And they know that's going to be a plus for those who are trying to get absolute rule. Absolute rule is when you don't matter anymore. Absolute rule means your constitution doesn't matter anymore. Absolute rule means your job doesn't matter anymore because they're going to tell you where you and when you can't work. For those of you who do not have a clue as to why they're sending you money right now, because that's the precursor to what's coming next. When the government does something for you, it's not altruistic. What's about to happen is they're going to cash in and want that favor, and that's at the ballot box. When COVID reach a height, when they can say, I want to do mask mandates for the entire country, and all these governors start doing it, those governors that mostly are in the blue states, to the exception of Utah, though it's not a blue state, we will get hit with a mask mandate. I promise you. Our governor is not one of us. And what I mean by one of us, he does not think the way we think. He does not. In a few weeks, in approximately another 10 days or so, the numbers will be approximately 3,000 to 4,000. Today, there were 2,000 with, I think it was 9 deaths. Next week, it will be 1,000 more. And you got to remember something, people. Every time that number goes up, you're that much closer to shutdown. You're that much closer to a shutdown. Now, but here's what's interesting. If over half the country has already, I think it's like 156 million people have already been vaccinated. So that would be a little less than half of the country has been vaccinated. The number technically wouldn't be so severe, wouldn't you think? Because if you have the vaccine and you're wearing your mask, that would definitely slow down the transmission of COVID. But what's ironic is simply this. The numbers are going up so fast right now as if nobody's been vaccinated. It's going up so damn fast. It's as if no one has actually been vaccinated. And here's what's curious. In Utah, the numbers are going up so fast. Eventually, if everybody's vaccinated, that number has to just stop and plateau. So don't wake them up and tell them that. Because in Utah, over 60% of the population has been vaccinated. Utah is 3.4 million people. So there's roughly about 500,000 people that have not been vaccinated. Give or take. So if the number gets to roughly, what do we say? Right now, the number's at 2,000 plus. If that number gets up to around 50,000 people, you need to wake up. Because they eventually will have to stop, because if half the country or half the state is vaccinated, and not all of us live in the same city, Not all of us live in the same county. That number is for the entire state. It's interesting to see what city has the largest number of infection. And I guarantee it will be Salt Lake County. It will be Salt Lake County. Not because Salt Lake is the largest city. It's because the mayor of this county and the mayor of the city thinks alike. They think absolutely alike. The rest of the state numbers will be down, except for Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County. Now, the state, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that. You know, before, when the numbers was up in the first round, everybody was pointing fingers at Provo. Provo County, was it? Yeah. Provo County, or Provo City, that area, Utah County. They were blaming all on the people south of Salt Lake County because they were a lot more relaxed than Salt Lake County. And what they're not telling you about the Pfizer vaccine, 2 days ago, Israel came out with a report that stated that the Pfizer vaccine is only 39% effective. 39%. So let me do a little bit of math here. At my age, 55, why the hell would I go and take a vaccine that's 39% effective when my recovery is 98%? Think about it. If I know I got a 98% chance of recovering from COVID, but yet I'm going to take a vaccine that has a 39% rate of percentage of working, I can't even think right now. Why would I take a drug that's new, untested, and has a lot of side effects in a lot of people? Why would I take that chance? Why would you take that chance? Look, I don't care if you get the vaccine. I really don't. I am a true modern conservative. I believe in the Constitution. If you want to put that vaccine in your arm or in your body, tear it up. Tear it up. That is your right. And I'm not going to fault you about it. But I will say, just make sure you do your due diligence and make sure is the vaccine and the side effects more deadlier than the virus itself. Now, that will depend on your age demographic as well. I mean, if you're 75 years old, you know what's good for you. My problem is the government is trying to tell not just me what's good for myself. They're trying to tell 340 million people we know better than you. We know what's better for you. Damn all the consequences from taking the vaccine. We know what's better for you. And if you die, it's okay. It's okay. Or if you get some kind of blood clot and you become paralyzed or immobilized in some way, shape, or form, it's okay. You're just taking one for the team. Because that's literally what they're telling you. Take one for the team, people. We are the federal government. We know better. Forget about the CDC. Forget about what's on the CDC website when it tells you upwards of 7,000 people have actually died of the COVID vaccine. They're asking you to forget that. So when I say this one more time to those out there who haven't made up their minds, if the government said there's one way you 100% will not get COVID, and that is If you take a 20-gallon hefty bag, put it over your head, and ziplock the bottom of it around your neck, some people will actually believe, maybe I should do that. I know that sounds ludicrous. I know that sounds ludicrous. But what's even more ludicrous, some people are so, I don't want to say stupid, but lacking common sense, because I literally seen people smoking a cigarette through their freaking mask. What does that tell you about that person's? He fears death from something that he may not get. And if he did get it, there's upwards, give or take, depending on his age variant, 80, 95, 98% survival rate. But if he gets cancer, late stage cancer, when it's discovered, he's done. But so he'll smoke that cigarette. This is the mentality of people out there in this country. And back to the California law, when they're telling people that they have to get the mask or get a new job, unless you meet certain exemptions, they say it's legal. I don't know how. I guess certain forms of discrimination is illegal. The government now can pick and choose what's illegal, what's discrimination, what isn't discrimination. Discrimination is only if you're Black, it's justifiable discrimination any other time. You only have the right to sue if it's a racism or some sort of form of racism that you're allowed to sue the government or your employer. I simply say BS. Because of COVID, there are no new laws that said you are allowed to discriminate. But what you do not want to do is give up your rights. And first of all, do not and never let them think you're dumber than they are. Never let them know that you don't know what you're talking about. Bluff it if you have to. Because they're trying hard. They're very, very, very good at trying hard. When we come back, I want to talk about the fact that, they're pushing a vaccine so hard. So this is John from the Modern Conservative Podcast, and we'll be back in a few. Welcome back, everyone. This is John Harvey, and I'm your host of the Modern Conservative Podcast, live and in color, black and white. Back to what we were talking about prior to the break. We were talking about COVID, and in during my break, I was actually talking to my sound engineer about some things, and everything now has become Jim Crow. If we don't like COVID, it's Jim Crow. If we don't like the new voting laws, it's Jim Crow. Everything is either racism, Jim Crow now, COVID now, and guess whose fault it is? It's them damn Trump lovers, it's the damn Republicans, and the conservatives. We are the thorn in their asses. And that's where we need to stay. Dead in their asses. Because when I hear Joe Biden talk about voter registration, for example, you got to have an ID. well, in that we shouldn't have to have ID, I should say. And then he reflects and say, this is Jim Crow. It's all about Jim Crow laws. Well, here's the thing, Joe, you senile bastard, and I said it. The Democrats wrote the Jim Crow laws. For all of you who did not know this, so every time he says Jim Crow is a law that was passed by the Democrats. Segregation, Democrats. It was mostly the Democrats. Yes, a few Republicans actually did vote. I think there was only 3 of them. But it was the Democrats that passed the Jim Crow law. But everything we do is Jim Crow. Everything we do is racism. Now they're saying that blacks can't get the COVID shot because we do not put enough. We don't have enough clinics or vaccine stations in black neighborhoods. Oh my God. Do they not realize we have cars nowadays? So, is that why we can't get to the vaccination station? Because we don't have cars, because we don't have driver license to get vaccinated. But when Obama was running for president, this wasn't a discussion. This was not a discussion during the time that Obama was running for president, both times. There was no Jim Crow laws when Obama was president. You didn't hear about Jim Crow. Jim Crow is something that's used to be divisive, to divide, They're using everything they can think of to divide the American people. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It's not about racial equality anymore. It's about equity. It's about equity. They want to prey on white guilt. And you know who's pushing it the most? Are whites. Whites. Because this stuff doesn't go on to the black community. The black community really does not walk out into Whiteville and look for the crap that's going on right now. Somebody brings it to their attention. Somebody puts it in their head. Someone gets the notion that, hey, if we can divide the whites and the blacks, we can tamper into white guilt. White guilt leads to young white kids protesting and rioting in the streets. Then we'll create an organization named Black Lives Matter, who's funded by Al Gore and Soros. And we'll just let them tear up the country. And we'll put it in the name of George Floyd and racism. It's working, people. It's actually working. Hey, I'm going to wake you guys up. It's working. It's really working. I was listening to the Utah State Board of Education hearing the other day. There's a group called MWEG, Mormon Women for Equity Government. These women are the problem, or the reason why we have a lot of problems right now in the state of Utah. This issue was critical race theory. And once again, I tell people, critical race theory has been around for a long time. A long time. It is absolutely nothing new. Modern theory, critical race theory No theory. Don't ask, don't tell. If you don't ask what they're teaching your kids, we're not going to tell you. This is why you need to have your asses down at the school boards. If you don't ask, and your kids come home saying things to you that you did not teach them, the first thing that should go through your head is simply, where the hell did you learn that at? Who told you that? Who told you mommy and daddy owe black people lots and lots of money because they used to be slaves? Because damn it, your next stop that next morning needs to be the school board. Raising pure hell. Screw the jazz game. That lasts for only 45 minutes. You're talking about the raising of your kids in a manner that you don't subscribe to. And if you don't subscribe to it, then you want to stop. Instead, I said, he's little Johnny's learning that at school. He'll grow out of it. No. What he will do is grow into something that you may not want happening. You know, give you an example. Kids in the South, mom and dad's in the Ku Klux Klan. Where do you think future generations of Ku Klux Klansmen come from? The grocery store? You think they downloaded an app on Google Market or iTunes or the App Store? No. It comes from the people that they're around. If your kids are taught white folks are bad, where do you think it comes from? Their little buddies they hang out with? No, because I can tell you what, if it's coming from their little buddies, it's either coming from the little buddies' home or the school system. We've always known that they teach this crap in colleges. We've always known that. But because parents rely on schools to raise their children 8-9 hours a day, the schools realize, and the DNC and the unions, so happily, they support the Democratic Party, DNC. They decide, you know what? We've got a captive audience. Fresh, new minds we can shape and mold. So it would help sustain their political views. But I've watched so many parents just let the government tell them how to raise their kids. And what I mean by that, when you have a vaccine, for example, no, I have not left the vaccine threat because it all runs together. It all runs together. When the government tells you in the very beginning, do not have your kids under the age of 18 take this damn vaccine. Mind you, it's the same guy that said initially that masks will not prevent the spread of COVID. Research, no studies, they just change it. But when they tell you, you have to get your children vaccinated to go to school, and you don't fight back, you just simply say, wait a minute, you told me these kids shouldn't be taking it. What's changed in the vaccine now where they should take it? Because as you know, the vaccines are not age specific. When you go get in line, it doesn't matter your age. They just give everybody the same vaccine, the same vaccine. They don't give a stronger dose for the elderly and a milder dose for the kids. When you're in line, they just give you all the same shot. You don't ask questions as to, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Is their agenda more important than your kids? Because I can tell you this. My kids and her mother, my youngest and her mother, we made a conscious decision. We're not doing it because it doesn't make sense. When you tell me one thing and weeks later you tell me something else, I'm going to question you. I'm going to question you because people think about this, and I want you to think about this. If they tell you that you should not be given this vaccine or any vaccine that's on the market right now, that's for COVID, and they tell you in the beginning, do not give administer this to children under the age of 18. So, well, you know, either one or two things. One, they've never tested and did a study on kids under 18. Or two, they did do studies on kids over 18 and told you not to give it to them because the study was not satisfactory. So either way, they've given you indications why you should not give this vaccine to kids. But then now they're pushing it. And they're pushing it real hard. Can anybody recall the last time we had a COVID issue where they gave the total deaths out every single day? Prior to this last pandemic, they have not. You may get statistics here and there, but it wasn't every day. And you know why it's every day? It's to train you into the fear factor. It's just like when you walk into Lowe's and it sounds like a third world country. We at Lowe's respect social distancing. To ensure your safety and the safety of our customers, please stay 6 feet. Blah, 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 blah. It sounds just like you are in a concentration camp. And it's meant to sound that way. Because this time around, you're probably going to hear it a lot more. And in actuality, people, it's not about you. It really isn't. Yes, it's about you following the commands. Yes, it's about you following footstep. Step into their orders, their cadence. But at the end of the game, it's about them. You will be dealing with this from now on. And for those of you who do not know, COVID has been around for a long time. A very long time. But there's a power play right now going on. There is a power play going on. Why do you think you're getting free money? You think you're getting free money because they like you so damn much? No, that's part of the socialist movement. You know, there's an election coming up in less than a little over 14, 15 months. To certain demographics of politicians, it is absolutely imperative that they win. You know, the Democrats will tell, oh, that's conspiracy theory. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, they also said that when COVID first came out and Trump was a racist, he was a misogynist, he was every name under the book. He was overreacting when he shut down the country. Remember all of that? But it's amazing to me how America forgets all of that. And then all of a sudden to the Democrats, it became so important. So important. We got to shut down everybody. We got to put masks on everybody. It was so important. For a year and a half. Well, I personally knew the break wouldn't last long. This will continue to go on till 2024. It will continue to go on. I ask you guys to do one thing: stand up. I ask you to stand up. Today, I don't know how many people are listening to me out there. I can't tell today. I know where everybody's listening from, but stand up. There's a reason why in Europe right now they're having a lot of protests, because people are tired of it. I need Americans to stop going to these damn basketball games and go to events that benefit the American people. But right now, when you go to these games, you benefit the people contributing to the social thoughts of this country. Basketball games is not what our soldiers died for. Football games is not what our soldiers died for. The Constitution wasn't written to protect the right to go to a basketball game. It was written so you can have the freedom to live as free as you want to be. Make a statement somewhere. Do something. Let people know. You're tired of this crap, and you're not going to play again. Been there, done that. You know, there's those of us who shut down businesses, laid off employees. The next go around, the same thing is going to happen. This will become cyclical for years if it's not retarded rather quickly. And if you do absolutely nothing, I'm going to tell you to your ear, to your face, doesn't matter who you are. You deserve what you get. Not everybody can fight your battle. Not everybody can fight a battle alone. I wish every white man and woman would get on the internet, get on their telephones, and simply say, Senator, if you allow this crap to happen, you will see the result from the American people. No, you don't have to bear arms and get crazy, but you got to do something. I ask people to share this podcast daily on my Facebook and other resources. And Grant, a lot of people are doing a fantastic job. I found out the other day, there's a lot of people that I've shared my podcast with who didn't even know I had a podcast. But it's funny, I've got people watching me from Japan, Germany, UK, and Brazil. And what is shocking, I've got more people listening to my podcast outside of Utah than in Utah, California. I've got people listening in California, Washington, D.C. Oh, no, Washington, D.C., but Washington State. I do not know what city because it doesn't tell me that. You know, in order to fight this, you've got to spread the word. You know, my country is really important to me because this is the place where my kids are raised. This is the place where your kids are raised. It's not just under your roof. If you're just worried about what's under your roof, then that's a problem for this country. There are those who say they do not live politics. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to wake you up. You're full of crap. You live politics, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You live politics when gas is too high. You live politics when housing pricing is too high. You live politics when lumber is up 500%. You live politics when you participate in this country as a citizen. You will be living politics when COVID shut down this country again. You will live politics when they tell you and mandate you, because it's politics that's going to mandate you put a mask on your face. So for those out there who think they don't live politics, that's your awakening. When you're working home from work, and hey, for some people, it's nice to work from home, but you're living politics. Because it's politics that determines and tells you what you should do during the pandemic. Because you can't use your own self-recourse, do what you want to do. So when you can't do what you want to do and you're doing what somebody else is telling you to do, you're living politics. Even I have to deal with it. Even though I try to participate in so few ways. So it's time that we as a group, as a country, and different races, it's time for you to stand up and say, no more. No more. Because it's not a win situation for us. It's not a win situation for us. Every time we accept a shutdown, we're losing. Every time we accept a shutdown, we actually have lost something. The trick is knowing what you're losing. Knowing what you're losing and knowing what you're doing will aid you in the battle of what's to come. Because your kids will be wearing a mask again. Your kids will be getting vaccinated, whether you like it or not. If you don't do anything, it will happen. It will happen. And right now, the government is a force to be reckoned with. But remember, there's more of us than there are of them. Anyway, once again, I enjoy my time with you guys every week, every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 o'clock. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you on the next channel. This is John, the Modern Surgical Podcast. Take care.